It is also known that modification of silver nanoparticles with ligands like polymers could influence stability and aggregation between particles and analytes. So it hoped that selectivity will be improved and also the sensitivity. And the background also, nanoparticles can be derived from the method of top-down or bottom-up. The top-down that we give treatment to the big particles into small particles in nanoscale, but it needs the expensive equipment. And also the bottom-up method with chemical reagents that we produce or grow the nanoparticles with chemical reagents. But unfortunately, there will be the residue of chemical reagents that are harmful for environment. So we need so it is also developed the other method that we call as Green-Synthesis, that's environmentally safe and quite easy. There are a lot of plants that have been researched to grow nanoparticles. For example, this is in Bahasa, Zadirachta indica, Centella asiatica, Diospyros blancoi, and a lot of plants that have been researched. We can use the leaves, the roots, or some other parts of the plants and react with another reagents to grow nanoparticles. For example, nanosilver or nanogolds. The suspected substances in plants is not quite clear, but some of the researchers have said that it may be terpenoids. One of the research by Saferpur that used extract of geraniol proved that geraniol can reduce silver into nanosilver. The objectives and the idea of this research is to make the indicator of nanosilver to select the samples from the fields that we can know the probability of the metals contained in it. So we can select a lot of samples from it, so we can predict if there is a content of metal ions in the samples. So not all of the samples we need to go to the laboratory and we test it in atomic absorbance spectrometry. So visually we can check, is it predictable that metal ions is in the samples before we bring it to the laboratory, like that. This is the tools and materials slide. This is the method of research that we make the reaction in definite procedures to grow nanoparticles. With what water that I use is velvet apple, bisbul in Bahasa, with a reagent of silver nitrate, 1 millimolar, mixing with ratio 1/10 volume per volume, stirring for 2 hours, then stay for 24 hours. Then do the characterization, check the stability by the UV spectrophotometry, and we will do the modification of polyvinyl alcohol with different percentage. And then we try it to the analyte solution that we use the lead, mercury, cadmium, zinc, copper, mangan in 5 milliliters vial. And then we do we try to improve the sensitivity of it to so we can give it to the analyte solution in the smaller concentration. And we know that the sodium chloride has been known that can influence the aggregation between analytes and silver nanoparticles, and also between silver nanoparticles itself. And then we try to check it by the trial to the Kappaphycus alvarezii, one of the red macroalgae. Why we use it? Because it is known that it has minimum content of metal ions in their body. This is the reaction. The graph is it's not really look in here, but actually we can see if you see in the laptop, it's more clear that Solomon et al. Said if we see the peak in 400 to 500 nanometers, it means that we have produced the nanosilver. And if the peak overlay, we see it in the peak overlay, we see that the formation of silver nanoparticles is function of time, and it needs 24 hours to make silver nanoparticles with the reactions by boiled water or velvet apple leaves. And we need to confirm it. Is it true that nanoparticles has been produced? This is the UV spectrometer, and the 400 to 500 nanometers is here, but we check it also with particle size analyzer, and we get the average particle size distribution in 61.07 nanometers with the distribution 97.9%. Then we test it to the analyzed solution. This is the results for copper ions to mercury ions. Actually, if we use the modification of polyvinyl alcohol, it is still not quite sensitive because it is 1000 ppm, and this is 500 ppm of copper ions with similar changes in color between mercury and copper ions. And then, okay, the line is, this is the picture of the stability of the nanosilver slide. And then this is the result again. Slide. Okay. This is the efforts to improve the sensitivity of the silver nanoparticles that have been modified with polyvinyl alcohol. You can see the graph? I cannot see. Okay. With sodium chloride 1 molar, it will decrease the absorbance of the nanosilver that without polyvinyl alcohol. But with nanosilver that have been modified by polyvinyl alcohol, the absorbance decrease not a lot. So sodium chloride can decrease the stability of nanosilver, but at the same time it increases the sensitivity of the indicator. I will make it fast. Slide, please. So the conclusion, we can say that the modification of nanosilver by polyvinyl alcohol that give the addition with the sodium chloride 1 molar is the best indicator in this research. And if you want to keep the indicator, don't mix the sodium chloride 1 molar to the indicator before for the long time. So you have to immediately pour the sodium chloride to the indicator first and immediately check it to the analyzed solution. And we do the trial for the red alga, Kappaphycus alvarezii, and we get the smallest concentration in 1 ppm. And with LOD and LOQ like this. And the last conclusion slide, please. Substance in velvet apple could reduce silver into nanoparticles. Slide. And modification of silver nanoparticles. Before, please. Modification of silver nanoparticles with polyvinyl alcohol could improve selectivity and stability of silver nanoparticles. Slide. Okay, this is the selected indicator that we use that have been explained before. And the suggestion is there's the continued research to know the specific substances in the plants that can reduce the nanosilver. And for application samples, it is needed to conduct research with samples in deliberately contaminated environment. So with deliberately contaminated environment, so the best method to implement the indicator for in situ practices can be achieved.